Learning objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to list the levels of government, describe the laws and the government, list the types of government, differentiate between monarchy and democracy, explain democratic government.
Functions of a government. A government is required to make decisions and get things done in each and every country. Functions of a government. It makes decisions about where to build schools and roads. It decides the ways to increase the supply of electricity. It takes down on social problems. Example, the government has launches several programmes in order to help the poor. It is responsible for the functioning of postal and railway services. The government also offers employment for the protection of the boundaries of the country and maintenance of peaceful relation with other countries. It ensures all the citizens have sufficient food to eat and get good health services. The government organizes helps and aid for the people affected by natural disasters like tsunami or an earthquake. In case of criminals disputes, people approaching courts are also part of the government. The government controls the resources and protects the territory of a country for the security of the citizens by exercising leadership, taking decisions and implementing them along all citizens by the process of election. The representatives elected through elections meet and make decisions for the entire population. A government cannot be called democratic unless it allows universal adult franchise. In other words, unless all adults in the country are allowed to vote. The country cannot call itself democratic. Democracy in India. History of democracy in India. In earliest forms of government, only men who owned property and were educated were allowed to vote. Women, the poor, the propertyless, and uneducated were not allowed to vote. Before independence, only a small minority was allowed to vote. Gandhiji and several others demanded that all adults should be given right to vote. This is known as universal adult franchise. Levels of government. The local level government, the state level government, the national level government. The government in village, town or a locality is called local level government. The government which covers an entire state like Punjab, Uttarakhand is called state level government. The government that relates to the whole country is called central government. Laws and the government. For proper functioning of the government, the laws made by the government has to be followed by all the people living in the country. It also has the power to impose its decisions. People can also take action if they feel that a particular law is not being followed. Types of government. The government is of two types: monarchy, democracy. Democracy. In democracy, the people give power to the government by conducting elections in which the citizens vote for a person to elect them. Government is formed by the person elected by people. In democratic government, the actions and decisions taken by the government have to be the people explained and defended to the people. Monarch. In monarch, the power to make decision and to run the government is given to the monarch, king or queen. The monarch can discuss matters with a small group of people, but the final decision-making authority remains with the monarch. In monarch, the actions and decision taken by kings and queens need not to be explained to the people. Democratic government. Democracy in India is an achievement for Indians after the long and eventful struggle. People have struggled for democracy in other places in the world also. The people have right to elect their leaders is the main feature of democracy. In other words, democracy is ruled by the people. Democratic government is also known as representative monarchies, in which people do not have direct participation. Instead, they chose their representatives through elections.
Summary.
Let us summarize what we have learned. The government is required to maintain law and order in a country. Government makes provision for services like roads, electricity, waterways, railways, health and sanitation, etc. Government even protests against external aggression and is responsible for maintaining unity and integrity of the country. Government in any country functions at several levels: central, state and local. Central government looks after nation, state after the provinces, and local looks after the villages and towns. Laws are made by the government, and as citizens of our country, people have to abide by it. Government even has the power to enforce these laws. Courts have the power to give justice to the aggrieved party. The laws are made by the government in a manner depending on the type of government in the country. There are two types of governments: democratic and authoritarian. In a democratic government, people have a right to choose their representatives, for example, India, UK and USA. Authoritarian governments are where there is absolute obedience to the authority. Examples of such type of governments are Saudi Arabia and Myanmar.